And look what Kyle's got going on. He is taking social media to a whole new level. And Kyle, tell me what you said about why you have it on your head.
I think it gives our viewers a little bit of an awesome first-person view at what we're actually doing and seeing, you know, that first-hand shot of what we're actually working with here. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. You know what that's going to do too?
What's that?
I'll be able to see what you guys did during the day.
This is true. This is true.
So, one won't fit on my head.
Okay, so finally, after a whole year of having the Pondless Waterfall apart at our display in Pattersonville, we are going to take a day and actually get started with this Pondless. I got a certain idea in my head how I want this to look. I want it to be interactive. I want kids to be able to jump on these big rocks. So it's going to be important for us to be able to set all these so that kids could kind of climb through it and enjoy it. There's also going to be a cool fountainscape at the top, but we're going to get started today. Kyle went up and picked up some rock. Jason got some soil, and everything is back here together. So it's really time to get started. I'll show you the site right now and what our thoughts are. Okay, so last year we got our Pondless pit in, and like I said, we just got super busy. Any of those that you follow us along on any of the social media between Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube know that we've been super busy since last year, and this has been taken apart for over a year and just been sitting idle. So this morning, Kyle and Jason got this all cleaned up. There was leaves and water and everything else on there. We had some time about a month ago where Kyle put this seam in, so now we're really ready to start setting rock. We want this to be interactive so kids can jump around on these big rocks and just kind of transition right from this gravel area down in by the waterfall. So that's one of the most important things about this. Because it is a display at our shop in Pattersonville, New York, we want to make sure that everything is interactive here and people can really see this in their yard. So the other thing I failed to mention is this is actually the driveway down to our house, which is on the property. And when we drive out of here, I want to be able to come right up this driveway and just look at something amazing. This actually wild grapevine has got to get taken out of that tree. We'll probably get rid of even that scrub and just make something a little bit more attractive down here. The old feature, like I said, was over 20 years old, so it's time to update this.
Okay, today, so we're hooking up an AquaSurge SDL 5 to 9,000 pump, adjustable pump. We're going to be using a dual union check valve, and we'll be installing it in a Pondless vault. So because we're using two Pondless vaults next to each other on this application, we're going to be coming up out of the Pondless vault. So what we needed to do was extend this dual union check valve. It comes with the proper fittings to do so. So how we figured out how high we want it to be is I measured outside of the Pondless vault just to get above the lid. And then I measured from the bottom of the pump to like the nut on the check valve. And I've got that measurement figured out. And then I needed to know what size pipe I needed between our two fittings, which ended up being 8 inches. So I've cut the pipe. Now I'm going to show you how I hook it up. So for starters, we'll screw this fitting back out of the pump, and we're going to clean it up with PVC primer. All 4 sections are clean. Now the 2 fittings are clean, the pipe's clean, and we're going to glue it in. And what we're using is Christie's Red Hot Blue Glue. Works great when it's a little bit wet out, damp, cold, warm, whatever it is. It's good. Put a little glue on the pipe, a little glue on the fitting, and we're going to push it in and we're going to hold it. And the reason we hold it is sometimes that pipe likes to push out. So we'll hold it for 30 seconds, make sure it doesn't move, and then we can glue the other part. So we've got that part held in and glued. We're going to do the same on this side. Glue on the pipe, glue on the fitting. We'll hold it in for 30 seconds. All right, so that should be good. Now what we're gonna do is thread this fitting into the pump. Get it threaded in all the way. We'll adjust our nut, make sure it's nice and tight, and then we'll lower this into the pond vault. All right, on this particular application, I want to have this pump come out as close as I can to this rock to hide it. So we're going to have that fitting, or the check valve, come out on that corner, and what we'll do is we'll cut the lid for the pond vault to fit that.
So we finally got another day to work on this Pondless Waterfall, and this morning Jason and Kyle have been kind of buttoning up that far edge over there. The slab steps that we put in, now they're not huge, but part of the reason that they're not real high and big is because we want this to be for kids. I mean, adults obviously can come down in here, but we wanted to make sure that it was only like 4 to 6 inch of elevation change on each step, so that way the kids could kind of get right down into there. So now that this lower part of the rocks are all kind of set in here, not everything is complete sealed. Kyle just sealed that lower end, but we got another little spot where we're gonna have a cool waterfall. One of the things you have to make sure of is that we don't want to look at butt ends of the rocks over there. So over here, the guys have already started doing a couple of small outcroppings, but you got to keep in mind that they look really good because they're kind of in the same plane in height as this rock where the waterfall is going to go over. As we go up and we have a much bigger rock, that's going to allow itself for a bigger outcropping out there just to help with the scale of that. So one of the other things that they were working on is cobbling all this area down in through by the pumps. You know, one of the reasons we like to use cobble too, and if this was going to go farther out, we would do a different gradation of gravel, is as nature is flushing out the streams in the springtime. You know, you got a lot of flow and stuff. What it does is it actually takes and moves rock and sediment around. So generally you'll go from those bigger boulders up there and then come down in different gradations as it's getting captured. And the cobble that kind of breaks off of rocks just kind of gets lodged in different areas. Not only that, but it helps us hide our pondless vaults over there. So it's important to kind of think about what you see in streams and different areas of nature as to how you want to build, and that's one of the things that we always try to work on the best we can. Now this obviously is a pondless waterfall, and we've choked this pit down to look very small, but it actually goes all the way out and over here, and so far the guys are doing a great job on that. There's one thing I want to show you here. What's hard is because of the restrictions, and I know this is at our nursery, pond shop, whatever you might want to call it, but one of the things you want to avoid is right now we have these straight line of boulders there, which, you know what, we're kind of at the edge of the pit, so that's what we had to do because we actually put that liner in last fall, so we're kind of married to that. But what we can do is we can put outcroppings out here, and it'll take your eye off that straight line. We'll do another one back in here, and then we can replant some of the ground covers like this sweet woodruff and lungwort and stuff that does real well in the shade, and it'll just make all those edges go away and you'll never notice it. All right, so the guys are over here working on the edges, and what I just happened to notice, because they started this morning without me because I went to work out at CrossFit because I don't think we get abused enough during the day with rocks. And look what Kyle's got going on. He is taking social media to a whole new level. And Kyle, tell me what you said about why you have it on your head.
I think it gives our viewers a little bit of an awesome first-person view at what we're actually doing and seeing, you know, that first-hand shot of what we're actually working with here. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. You know what that's going to do too?
What's that?
I'll be able to see what you guys did during the day.
This is true. This is true.
So, one won't fit on my head.
We could probably mount this Sony 6400A right on your head. So anyway, you know those straps are adjustable, right, Jay?
Yeah. Yes, I do.
So, oh Lord, one of the cool things is that we get calls all the time, and right now we're building a pondless waterfall. And Jason, how many times have you heard people call it a waterless pond?
Oh, A million times. I don't know why they do, because there's definitely water in there.
Well, you know what I think?
What do you think?
I think it would be a lot easier for us to build a waterless pond because we would just put some rocks in there and not even have to seal the liner.
This is true, and I do believe we have one of those jobs coming up, don't we?
Yeah. Yeah, this one's going to be sealed.
All right, so we weren't really making fun of people, but it happens all the time. We get calls at the office and they're like, I want one of them waterless ponds. Well, unfortunately, everything we do has water, unless you're doing a mock stream bed or something. But it's funny that there's a little bit misconception. It's called a pondless waterfall. And all that means is the pit at the bottom is not generally holding water. Sometimes we'll bib line it and make it look like there's just a little few inches in there, and then that way we could put aquatic plants. But in essence, all it is the waterfall, the boulders, all the action, easy maintenance. There's virtually no maintenance with a pondless waterfall, but there is no ponding area. All right, so right now we're to the stage where we have to seam another liner, and the only reason we want to seam this is we do not want to have any difficulties with any water loss or anything else. And yes, you can do an overlap, but where we want to do the next drop waterfall, we really need to seam it rather than rely on an overlap. So right now, Jason and Kyle are getting this clean. Let's go over and check it out and see what those guys are doing.
All right, so one of the most important things really is the fact that they really need to get the liner super clean. Yes, they're brand new liner, but again, it rained today, right, Kyle?
A little bit, not too bad though.
And so Jason and Kyle are kind of drying it up. Then we'll have to clean it really well because there's a little bit of sand and stuff in here. We want to make sure that that seam is perfect. The other thing that Jason has, Jason, show him the heat gun right there. So this is a heat gun for those of you that don't know, and what we're going to do is take the moisture out of the liner with that. You got to be careful, obviously, not to melt the liner, but all we're going to do is we're going to take and run that heat gun back and forth, and Jason's going to show you that right now, even though they're still cleaning. But for camera's sake, let's give it a shot. Right there, you can see how that moisture starts to come out of that. We want to make sure that the moisture is out of the liner, so that way when we put our primer on, it's going to stick really well to that liner. And it is fall, temperatures are a little cool, so this really doesn't hurt. But again, make sure you don't melt your liner. Right, Jay?
Absolutely.
You know what's going to happen, don't you? You're going to melt the liner because I got the camera.
Hey, if I don't pay attention, we're going to melt the liner.
That's why you won't look at us. I'm trying to get him to look. All right. We're going to go on to the next stage. Kyle and Jason are going to show you how we seam a liner. All right, we are using all Firestone products here. Our pond liner is Firestone, and we're using the Quick Prime plus primer right here to get ready to put our seam tape on. One of the things you have to do first is you really need to have a double-sided tape. The double-sided tape sandwiches the two liners together and just kind of keeps everything in place. You want to make sure you have no wrinkles, and just to be foolproof, we go back over it with a 6-inch cover tape right over the top, which you'll see throughout this video.
All right, you know, I've never been a big fan of mixing fountainscapes and waterfalls just because I just like that natural look, and it looks just like it came out of nature, maybe down out of the mountains or the woods, but you know, it's starting to grow on me. So I think what we're gonna do is incorporate some stack slate urns on this pondless waterfall at our display, and we'll just see what we can make of this. I know it's still gonna come out cool, but I think it's time to mix the two elements here at Decker's Pondscapes.
So Jason and Kyle got these seams all buttoned up, and of course it started to the rain, but they finished just in time, thank God. But these are some of the urns that we had around. Some are new, some are older, but for this display purposes, it's gonna work fine. This is the area we got left to work with, all the way up to where that liner is drooped up over that boxwood plant underneath the linden tree. So we're gonna, the very end of it's gonna be up there by that linden tree, but down in here, we're gonna have to get super creative because I wanna do something different with these stack slate urns. All right, so we are at the stage where we're starting to get these urns all leveled up, and we got this rock right here. We're gonna have water kind of coming over here. We wanna do something cool and creative behind it. We have one more urn over there that's the same size as this one, just gonna be at a little bit different elevation over here on that side because we kind of wanna flank each side of this rock, but just be back a little bit so it doesn't look like it's a goalpost. The other one we got plumbed in here too. Jason did that this morning. We're getting ready to bib this lower section, and we will show you what a bib liner is in a little bit here, but right now we just want to kind of get set up, get leveled up so we can start setting more rock over in this section. So right now we have our 2 foot level, and what we want to do is make sure that it's level side to side, front to back. Because of the way the water is going to want to spill off of that and the way we want water to spill over it, we're going to want to make sure that it's dead on. The other thing is that this is an old urn that I'm recycling. You can see on the top of that there is no provision for a fire feature, but being this is a display, not many people here at night, I'm really not worried about that. You could tell that the new ones have those little tabs in there so you can put one of those fire features on top. We are going to do lights throughout this thing, so we're going to light this up really well, but it really doesn't make sense for me to have fire here. There is other parts of the yard that we do have it at our displays, but just not here. It's not something that we're going to do. Joe, what do you think about this Pondless Waterfall we've been building?
It's coming along great. Holy foam! Did you take that out of inventory? That's coming out of your pay.
She thinks it matters. I haven't seen a paycheck in 30 years.